And I welcome the panelists. Marta Mikliszańska, who is responsible for public policy sustainability at Allegro Group. I also welcome Petr Bartoň, Chief Economist of Natland, who is the external consultant of investment projects, and he collaborates with think tanks on the improvement of Czech legislation in economic aspects. Next speaker will be Petr Očko, Deputy Minister for Digitalization and Innovation, responsible for the Digitalization Innovation section, and he believes that the Czech Republic could become an innovation leader in many areas. And last but not least, Tomáš Prouza, President of the Confederation of Commerce and Tourism, whose previous experience include work at the World Bank in Washington, responsibility for the EU fiscal policy, and he's also a businessman in startups.
To start with a question I was mentioning in the beginning, that e-commerce is going through rapid change, also according to AI, to new technologies, and I would like you to share your opinion where it is and where it comes to be. So, who would like to start? Is it? Yes. So, Tomáš.
Good morning to everybody, and again, thanks for having me. I think Magda made a mistake to let me have the microphone first, so I think she'll realize in a few minutes how big a mistake that was. I think a couple of things to keep in mind, Justin. First of all, for the last 10 years, we've been talking about omni-channel experience. It's always been talk. Now, when you do not have omni-channel presence, you're dead. I think that has moved very quickly. Second one, I think a bigger and bigger issue is, unfair competition from third country. Well, now let me start being politically correct. From the Chinese e-commerce guys, I will talk about it. Petr hates that topic, but I will be nice to him today, I promised. And the third thing is absolute lack of loyalty when you're shopping. When you look at it about a year ago, when we look at it, some of the data in Europe, 50% of people change the brands they're buying. 5 years ago, it was only 20%. And 90% of people are saying that they are going to keep changing again and again. And our final point, I think number 4, is a huge impact of social commerce. Especially young people, they don't bother, watching advertising. I don't think they understand when they see billboards. I don't think they even understand what is on that piece of paper. But anything that's on the social media, they go for it. Again, no regulation, potentially a lot of harmful practice as well, and no ways to enforce it.
Well, it's a quite dark view, actually. Would you like to react? Do we go? Yes, you are one of the practical colleagues here on the panel. So how do you feel it?
Yes, hello, dobrý den. Yes, I'm representing Allegro, which is a Polish, I think right now in Europe, the largest marketplace in Europe at the moment. But we were born 25 years in Poznań, which is a western city in Poland. And we had this like a very long, over 25 years journey from this little C2C auction company service to this professionalized B2C platform right now. So this is maybe what I would like to also talk about. Is like also Tomáš mentioned this omni-channel approach. I think when we speak about the e-commerce, a lot of there's a lot of happening and going on. So of course on the consumer side, so this demand for this easy shopping experience is, I think, growing. So everyone expects to be like 2 clicks, have this experience shopping really quick and convenient. Of course, I think we know that consumers in Europe also expect the access to this great selection of offers, and they want to have the best price because, of course, it always matters. So these 3 components, convenience, but also access to selection and best price, I would say, you know, at least have this choice to choose the one that you prefer is the key. So the marketplace is from the consumer's perspective, but also on the other side, because we are, as I said, this platform that connects sellers and consumers. We are this platform that is doing like this matchmaking of the consumers and companies and sellers. On the other hand, on the other side, we have this perspective of sellers. So entrepreneurs who are active, who have been active in this e-commerce world, who have made this decision to go online, to start selling directly on online, and they can also have a choice. So they can be just an e-shop and building this own infrastructure and building own shop online. But they can also, and it doesn't mean that they have to resign from having their own shop, they can also use and try this marketplace model, which I think nowadays, with this very quick access to millions of consumers, because just to give you some numbers, when by Allegro platform, the seller who joins, he or she has an access to over 20 million of active users, active consumers, so 20 million. It's quite an easy step, no costs at the beginning, so it's just the fee when you sell it. So it's like easy access and very quick going out. Also being on this big infrastructure with all this financial, technological, and also analytical tools that we provide. So this is all the support that he's or she's getting from the platform. So I think this is also a sign of a time. You know, that now we have those choices also from this consumer perspective, also from merchant perspective. But if I may add what has been said, like also in previous panels and discussions, I think we all are now in this process of discussing and thinking how can we make the local European companies grow. I think, I'm sure that the Allegro is an example of one of those companies which managed to scale up over 20 years now, and now is expanding, is going international. So that's why we entered also Czech market 2 years ago, and last year we went to Slovakia and Hungary. So now we're having this platform in all those 4 countries as a platform, and this is how I think European companies should be growing, and this is the support that we made discuss also during this panel discussion, how we can make it even better.
I'm sorry to Petr because but I need to react with one more question. What Tomáš said. How do you work with the change of loyalty, and how do you work with this huge impact of Chinese industry in e-commerce?
Well, building loyalty is, as I think, is our goal. It's our priority, building the loyalty within consumers. So offering consumers all those additional tools and additional services, like, for example, Smart. This is the program that we have developed a couple of years ago, which means free deliveries, no limitations with free deliveries. So you just pay once a year and you have this free deliveries. So this is something that is really make this shopping going, because of course when you have this loyalty program Smart, you're using it, you're taking advantage of it. But also all those payment methods that we have been developing on the platform as well. So buy now, pay later, so which is making it easier. Also, we've been working on this better recommendations, also using this AI tools to make it even more accurate. And logistics. If the logistics deliveries are good and customers are happy that they are getting the delivery on time, so there's good predictability of deliveries, I think it's very important, and also AI. I think when you have all those things that you offer to your consumers, and he sees additional value of shopping online, I think this is something very important, which is building this loyalty. But of course, it takes time. It's not like overnight journey. We have built this great brands, and we are the most loved brand in Poland. Of course, we are not expecting to be the most loved brand in Czechia, in Czech Republic, you know, during those two years. But we really hope that in course of time we will build up this trust and we will gain your trust as consumers, and we will show that we are a fair platform and fair player and fair partner for shopping. So I think this is also taking time, but it needs to be a strategy for this loyalty building. Speaking about the competition and level playing field, I would be happy to come back to it because it's like a very broad topic, and I will be happy to contribute to this discussion.
We will come to that later, because then we will go more at a higher level. How do you react to this? Where the e-commerce platform or e-commerce contact with customers is at the moment, and where does it go in the future, in a short future?
So, good morning to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. So, I'm a representative of the state, not of e-commerce companies. So, the detailed developments in e-commerce are probably better to comment from the side of the e-commerce providers. But from the side of state, I would like to say that if the question is what is actually changing in this sector. So one thing that was actually not so much mentioned yet, but it's of course connected also with the development, with the technological developments, with the changes in the behavior in the sector, is changing legislation. So and there is where the state comes in. So I didn't hear the three letters DSA yet in this discussion. So this is something that probably is also worth discussing in this panel. What DSA has brought, or maybe should have brought and didn't bring to the sector. And I'm saying that because our part of the ministry is responsible for implementation of DSA in the Czech Republic. Actually, on the other hand, my feelings from the DSA are quite good, because maybe unlike some other pieces of legislation that were actually approved from the European level in the past period, this is something that probably had to happen. The e-commerce directive was actually 20 years old. Now it would be 25 years old. It was one of the oldest directives, at least in the technological area, and due to technological developments and also new services, new behaviors, we definitely had to do on European level something. We also have moved in the building of the single market, and actually these were actually two main reasons why to actually have some update on e-commerce legislation. So now we have not a directive, we have regulation. That I think is good. This is definitely a step that will help to develop the single market in that area. And of course, it reacts to new technologies, to new types of services. You know that there is a asymmetric regulation for different types of services, and we have some add-ons like content moderation. That is also a big topic. But generally, for me and my feedback also from the consumer association is that the DSA brings more trust, more consumer protection. And from the side of the business, we actually had rather a positive feedback also, that it helps to better operate on the European market. But definitely we can speak about, and Tomáš already said that I don't like discussion about Chinese, but actually that's not completely like that. I think that discussion about Chinese is not just debate about DSA. It's more complex debate, and definitely we are ready also to be involved in this. I mentioned the legislative changes that definitely influence the e-commerce sector these days. But also what I would mention, and it was of course a little bit touched upon, I think especially by Marta, is this, and following also on the previous panel, is like extremely fast actually development of AI everywhere, in every level of e-commerce, from logistics to personalization to security, cyber security. So this is, I think, maybe in this panel, I think this is also worth touching a little bit more in detail how AI actually influences. And in that respect, I think also following the previous panel, we also, how much we, in e-commerce, we are getting under the provisions of the another new legislation on the EU level, that is AI Act, that was discussed in the morning. And it brings, of course, some new challenges also for this sector, because AI Act is quite robust piece of legislation, and maybe this is also a topic, what the business thinks about that, actually.
Thank you very much. The title of this panel is How to Adapt and Success in Modern World with E-commerce. And we would definitely love to then get to the, because also questions are here, to get to the topic of the security of the consumer and to AI tools. But before we do so, we would like to give the word to Petr Bartoň, because he didn't spoken yet.
Well, that's a good enough reason. So I'm the economist, and I'm supposed to provide the broader perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back in answer to the question, what are the challenges of the e-commerce industry, which is around 25 years old, let's say, so we can celebrate quarter of a century. But let me take you back to the year 1776, because there is the answer. Next year, it will be 250 years since the Bible of all economists has been published, Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. So our discipline is basically 10 times older than yours. So hopefully we will be able to offer you some words of wisdom. And in that book, in the Bible, it says that the success of not just nations, but also industries, sectors, etc., is given by the size of the market. The larger the market, the more we can subdivide individual tasks, people can specialize, and we are all better off for it. In a small village of 100 people, you just don't have enough people. Now, the European Union and its e-commerce markets, it should be e-commerce market, but it's not. It's basically 27 little villages, with a few exceptions, that have to develop something on their own. Compare it to anywhere else. Compare it to China, compare it to the United States that we've been talking about in the previous panel. If you're thinking of starting an e-commerce company, and innovate and specialize and be in one way better than the others, you're immediately facing the day that you have that you go online with your website, you have immediately access to almost 400 million people who are your potential customers. In European Union, the most you're hoping for in Germany is around 80 million people. There's only about 3, 4, 5 countries which have at least 1/10 of the American size. So given that the single market is only still a dream of the European Union, and we don't have it, and it's especially palpable on the e-commerce market. Now, I'm talking about the e-commerce market where there is some interconnection between electronic ordering or electronic sales, and ultimately something physical has to be delivered. It applies slightly less so where you're digitally selling digital products. There, let's say we have something approaching e-commerce market, the one single one in European Union. The only differences are that your party of lawyers has to then deal with the individual legislations, how the purely digital products are compliant with the local legislation. But there, actually, the difference between the European Union split up and the single big market in the US isn't actually that different, because it's a little-known fact that even in the United States, the individual states, the 50 states, and they have twice as many than we have in the EU, they also have their own legislative quirks, which you have to account for, and you still need the army of lawyers. But if we stick to the ultimate question of e-commerce, where you're digitally selling something physical, which then has to be delivered, you're basically talking about 27 different markets. with few notable exceptions, where you can have one platform which then goes multinational, and there are some successful ones, including Marta's, but even they have to basically set up a sub-branch in the individual countries to deal with the local problems. So it's not truly that you set up one company in Wyoming and immediately you have access to everywhere. So from my point of view, the biggest obstacle to, and the biggest challenge for European e-commerce market is ultimately it will not be a single market until we have truly singlified the delivery market, which is not necessarily just the responsibility of e-commerce market, right? Again, specialization. E-commerce specializes in the e-commerce-y things and then subcontracts, often, not always, but often the actual logistics and the delivery is subcontracted to not necessarily e-commerce companies, which are still purely national, with some sort of outreach to the outside world. So that, from my point of view, is the biggest challenge. But because you're going to ask immediately, what about the loyalty question? What's your favorite? Now here is the silver lining. At the moment, this split up into individual 27-ish markets is actually working for you in that it actually creates some loyalty. Because the choice, if you're not happy with your current provider and consumer is fickle, wants to go to somewhere else, on that little market, they only have few competitors, by definition, who are active on that market. Imagine in the US, or if we had in the EU a total single market, your customers would be even more fickle because they would have even more to choose from because they could easily order that from an Italian company, from a Swedish company, etc. So the silver lining is that if you're unhappy with the fickleness of your customer, think about how much worse it will be if and when one day we will have truly a single e-commerce market in Europe.
A lovely talk. Do you want to react?
Yes, I would love to refer to what you said about 27 markets. It's like, if I can take a minute of your time, because we are a great example of how big struggle with this fragmentation and non-harmonization of 27 markets is. So as a platform, we enable our merchants to sell not only on the local market, but also to go abroad. And I think this is the best thing, because we all know and we can all agree that for SMEs, and these are like small and medium entrepreneurs, are over 90% of our partners and sellers are SMEs. So to push them and to encourage them to export, I think this is the only right way to make them go outside the local market and find European or even maybe global clients elsewhere. So what we are doing also by our platform is enabling them, sellers, to go abroad. So now, seller who lists on the platform, list once, he can sell to all the 4 markets that we've been operating in. So this is a great opportunity also for Czech merchants, and we have now like over 60,000 of merchants from Czech Republic and Slovakia selling on our platform. This is a great opportunity to list on the platform for Czech merchants and to go abroad. But of course, they have to face many challenges when it comes to export. They have to know how to navigate this different regulatory frameworks when it comes to consumer protection, tax regime, all this think about all the topics related to waste management, for example. So like a lot of topics for the small and medium entrepreneur, it's not an easy thing to know what the local legislation is in those countries. So of course, as a platform, we help them, we educate them by our trainings, webinars, we show them what are the main challenges, but ultimately this liability or this responsibility is on merchants. So he needs to be really brave to export. He needs to really know what's there. So I completely agree that, you know, after those 30 years of digital single market, we still have this challenge, and it hasn't been solved. So I encourage also local governments not to, and I'm supporting my predecessors and my previous speakers that we really encourage not to put this gold plating, because of course more gold plating is more difficult it is for us. And I see that's also here in Czech Republic, I can see a lot of pragmatism and practical approach, which we really appreciate because it's making this life of entrepreneurs easier.
Thank you very much. I'm now coming to questions or comments we had also from previous panels. Let's go practical, because this, what you have, Bartoň said about this one unique market in Europe, is a little bit utopia, I think, at the moment now. But it could be that e-commerce could be like an example how it can work, because it's not so difficult as a political one. Do you all have some practical tips where to start? Where to start with this? What would make it easier to be one market which will be a competitor to unique markets on the United States and China? Because China is held from one point. America, although there are 50 states with their legislation, there is Washington, and there is legislative of President Trump, who is just leading and pushing them. We don't have it. What can we do?
Just a couple of things from my point of view. First, we need to have significantly more unified enforcement of the rules. Okay? Even before we get into discussion about the new rules, I think the biggest problem in Europe, we do not enforce the rules we have on the books. Okay? And if we do, each country does that differently. So again, a huge headache. Okay? And the same goes for example, VAT registration. Again, if you want to provide services, and different rules. So again, second point that comes from that is to try to be more united in the rules we have. It's always a discussion in Europe why we've always businesses are pushing for regulations that are directly applicable, not for directives, when you get a lot of creativity in international parliaments. Even you still have the new actually transpose even the regulations. So again, the second big question we need to face is how much creativity are we going to accept from the local politicians and local parliaments? I know the old lawyers just immediately started hating me right now, but and the third thing, and the third thing that actually matters is to make sure that we can do the business more effectively. And just give me one example and tie it back to the discussion on China. We actually did an analysis of the costs of our goods when we sell them versus when similar goods are sold on a Chinese website. And the price difference on average is about 1/3 of the total. And that is the compliance cost of European companies with European legislation. Wow. Okay? So again, think about it. We don't even have to talk about subsidies from the Chinese government. Only because we let them get away with disregarding our rules without enforcing them properly, they get a huge advantage on us.
Okay, thank you. Can we do something with it on a state level?
Yeah, of course, actually deepening generally the single market. Actually, because in what was said, actually, we are not talking about only about e-commerce. We definitely speak about whole the single market. So there are definitely many areas where we can do more to have a real single market. I just would like to say that if we come back to e-commerce, that during the discussions on DSA, as follower of e-commerce directive, there was big discussion on several things, but one of the biggest discussions was the principle of country of origin. And actually, as a Czech Republic, we were like strong defender of this principle, because there were some proposals to change it at least to some extent to the country of destination principle. And what does it mean, the country of destination principle? It means that the seller has to really cope with 27 judiciary system in all the member states. So country of origin principle is one, from my point of view, a really very important step to actually really be able easily to do e-commerce within the European Union. It doesn't mean that the single market is we are fully there, but actually, thanks to this principle, it can be easier, at least from the e-commerce point of view. I definitely agree with, if I would add one more point with the note on actually the supervision of the legislation, because the truth is that we have one regulation that is now called DSA for like e-commerce, but we have 27 national supervisory institutions. And it was actually, I just would like to say that it was topic of Czech presidency of the EU, that we really should much more on actually coordinating between the member states who and in what way is doing this supervisory work. We have like this digital supervisory coordinator, and we have, just to mention, we have also other regulation like Data Act now coming into force. Data Governance Act, we have, of course, Digital Markets Act, and now we have AI Act. And for every of these acts, we have different supervisory institutions in every member state. So we have, like, let's say, 5 important acts that are actually relevant to doing digital business, and for every one of them, we have generally different supervisory institutions. So we have 5 times 27 different supervisory institutions. It's not 5 times 27 because many cases it's many countries have actually established a new agency for like all the digital supervisory activities. Some put it to some already existing institution. But in some countries the supervision is closer to like data protection agency. In some countries it's closer to like telecommunication regulation. In some countries it's a newly established agency that is sometimes focusing mainly on AI. So this is really difficult. This is something that happened. We were actually saying that during our presidency we actually did some or realized some presidency events to actually start discussion on like pushing the alignment between the supervisory approaches among the 27 states. Something started to happen. We have boards of regulators for almost every of these regulations where they actually discuss common approach to the regulation. And I'm happy that also the Polish presidency that is now in charge has this as a topic, especially towards AI Act. So, but I think we should do more in this, more coordination of these supervisory activities to have like one common approach for how the EU. And it's not easy. It's a really difficult task. I think also the Commission could play some role in this. Of course, we speak about the national level of supervision, but without the coordination on the EU level, with some involvement of the European Commission, it's difficult.
Okay, so we have the rules at the moment, we have the coordination. What do you suggest?
Before I get to that, Mr. Chairman, may I take slight issue, very briefly, with your characterization of the single market as utopic?
Please.
It may be utopic, but if it is utopic, then we are, pardon my French, screwed. I take that word very literally or advisedly, because we do have one gentleman who's going around the world now claiming that the whole European Union was set up to screw, literally, America. Now, why are we screwed if we don't have that, maybe down the line, a couple of years, okay, it's teething problems, but if we don't get it down the line, then we are screwed, because if it roughly is equally problematic to order something from France here in the Czech Republic as it is from China, then guess who wins? China wins. So the only way how we can ultimately defeat everybody ordering directly from China is to make it easier to order from France. Otherwise, Chinese competition will paradoxically be even bigger, and then there is no hope for European e-commerce as such. So that's just to the point of view of utopic, and I will offer two solutions that you're asking for, practical solutions, one of them practical, and the other one practical but utopic. The practical solution is build more roads. Ultimately, it's what divides up the individual markets is not the website. The website can easily be translated into other languages through AI. Ultimately, it's the delivery channel, it's the logistics. Why are logistics still so set up, basically to be national primarily, and only then as a sub question to worry about logistics to the other countries? Well, in countries like Benelux, you do have a pretty homogeneous road network where you literally cannot tell whether you happen to be crossing a country or not. But almost anywhere else, most roads end at the border, and even in the Czech Republic, to this day, we only have 3 highway connections to another country. We don't even have a highway, motorway connection to our former capital, Vienna, to this day in 2025. Until we have that, or if the miracle happens, we have better and more practical train network haulage, but ultimately, I think for European e-commerce delivery, it's still going to be by and large through trucks, and therefore you need the motorways. Until we have better connections, there is no hope to make logistics to other countries cheaper, and ultimately, nobody's going to have that competition of ordering something for France or French ordering from Czech e-commerce companies, as long as it's so difficult and so expensive to get somewhere. So that's the practical solution.
Oh, this was not the utopic one.
Building roads. What else do states love doing?
All right.
They love cutting the ribbons when they open the new bits of motorway.
And in 117 years, we don't have a highway to...
No. Look at Poland. If we completed roads at the rate of Poland, more or less in the Czech Republic, we would already be connected with the rest of the world. Right. So there are solutions, and it's a win-win-win for everybody. States love doing it. Why do states love spending on roads? Because they can classify it as investment. Right. And once you say, from the state's point of view, oh, this is an investment, then all discussions to, oh, it's an investment. Therefore, we have to do it, and therefore you can take debt on the country, you can debt future generations because it's investment. So that's not utopic, it's very practical. The second solution I'm suggesting, and that's a utopic one, although since last week, maybe less so, is to get rid of post offices, national post offices. Their charging structure is, basically you have one single rate across the country, wherever it's being delivered, and then, as a hanger-on, oh, if you want to cross a border, oh, that's another charge. So if you're in Ostrava, near a large Polish market just across the border, it's going to be cheaper to transport it across the border to the large population in Poland, physically, for the post office, but they're going to charge you more than delivering it to Prague. So yielding the space away from national-based post offices to truly European delivery companies and logistics companies who charge you by how much it actually is difficult to deliver it to the point, that's the way, because then all borders in Europe disappear immediately, and you're charged by the mile or by the difficulty of getting to that place. And once you get rid of these national border-based charges for delivery, then you're making it easier and you're getting rid of it. Now, last point, it may have seemed utopic, but for the last week, we live in the world where it's no longer utopic. I don't know if you've noticed, in the last week it's been announced that the Danish post office is shutting down. Not that it's subcontracting to other companies. It's literally shutting down. There's going to be no more letterboxes through which to post your letters. Basically, the Danish post office has said, well, there's already enough companies who take care of the remaining few letters that are still being delivered. Therefore, there is no point in us doing it. If you want to, just use one of the existing other companies, and we're giving up. Because the old system of the post office mainly to deliver letters across the country and just an occasional postcard from holidays abroad is no longer valid. So once we Europeize, once we get rid of the national-based delivery companies, that is a way how to de-border also e-commerce in the European Union.
I'm afraid that we'll have first the highway to Vienna. First get rid of post offices, then the highway to Vienna. But please, yes, what are practical tips?
I would like to refer, like everything what was said, I can completely agree. So more cooperation of these national regulators, more enforcement. I would be happy to come back to this. And also roads. This is essential. But also, when we're speaking about these postal offices and postal fees, I have another example that I can add to your group of paradoxes. Please imagine that you have this postal letter coming from Shanghai to Prague. And the price, the fee for this postal service is lower than sending a letter from Ostrava to Prague. This is why? Because this is the quite, I would say, ancient law, you know, very old legislation that was accepted and developed by Universal Postal Union, which has been treating and still treats China as a developing country, which means that they have like great preference when it comes to this letters and postal fees. And please try to guesstimate how many low-value parcels or letters are coming from China every day to Europe. 12 million every day, low-value parcels. This is going to hopefully change because the last recent communication on e-commerce launched by the European Commission, which did the research and estimated the cost for European entrepreneurs and how many losses we have because of this non-VAT, non-customs fees, non-controlled anyway and anyhow import from China impacts the local and European business. So 12 million of parcels every day, and now we hope that there will be some actions taken, like this abolishing of this threshold, 150 euros threshold, which is like outside of this taxation regime. It should be terminated, but we also hope that there will be more cooperation between the local tax offices and customs offices. So we really hope to have this customs data hub in Europe, and also this EU customs authority that might be an authority who would put more control over those parcels from China. This is the only way. This is a very practical action that can be taken to really stop this process. And when we're speaking also about this competition from China, I think this is something that as Allegro we have been following for many years. It's not just last year or 2 years. I think at least, you know, I've been in this company for over 7 years, and it has been my topic from the very beginning, because we could see how much unbalance we can experience as a platform, but also our merchants, our sellers can experience. So this level playing field, putting the same legislation for all the players on market, I think this is a very reasonable and well explicable approach. Not more, not less. Let's compete, but on the same rules. Let's have this legislation which regulates the market, because it needs it. I think, you know, some kind of regulations are needed, because otherwise it would be just you know, no control over and no consumer protection. So I think that these are like things that should be somehow regulated. But let's be sure that all the players who are coming to the European consumers, Czech consumers, Polish consumers, are playing the same rules. And how we can make it, I think, you know, it's very important that we know it. And I might say that if I can refer to this previous conversation of my colleague from Meta with Mr. Havlicek, I don't really think that, you know, applying all the same rules for all the players, including Americans, is something that might be taken by the US as something that is, how to say, planned as this strategically focused on how to harm the US companies. I don't think this is the case. I think we all have to play the same rules. So DSA is not against the US companies, I think, or DMA. I think we are also in the scope of DSA as a platform. Of course, we are not this very large online platform yet, because we are not that big, but we are also in the same regime. We also have to play these games. We have to also publish the reports, yearly report, and we have to have this content moderated content provisions, and we have to be compliant. And I don't understand why the other players could say, okay, it's not our game, because this is our game. We are all in this game. Okay. We have to the same rules. Thank you.
You would like to comment shortly, please?
I think what Marta said is important about the legal changes, like the custom scope. But keep in mind, yes, the Commission is saying, well, let's get rid of this €150 threshold. But the customs code revision will come in 2028. It will take 2 or 3 years to actually update it. So what do we do in the 5 to 7 years in between? Now, if we do nothing, a lot of e-commerce companies will be dead by then. So it is very much about, we need to push the changes, but we need to enforce better. And just, one example. When you look at the aggressive sales practices that are acceptable on the Chinese websites, if Allegro did that, there would be millions and millions of fines, and maybe Allegro would be shut down by now. So again, we're punishing European companies, we're letting this go in the errors. The same with data protection rules. Okay, you have the Czech Data Protection Authority that actually says that if you just have maybe more than 5 newsletters, maybe that's too much.
All right. Okay?
But I've never seen them come into discussion what happens with your private data when you shop on these Chinese websites.
Yeah. But yes, great. Thank you very much for this bridge, because that leads me to protection of a customer and to safety on the net. And also, when you are saying that this is the aggressive Chinese marketing, isn't it good that we have this protection? And how do we continue with this protection? Because we want to keep the protection we have, I believe, at the moment, and we want to take care of our customers. We don't want our customers to be somehow, as the questions here in the Slido, to be somehow cheated. And what do we do with it? Because the risk is great. Also according to AI tools, because the AI tools are very powerful. And how do we work with it?
Just let me start with one thing. You never hear me say that we need to get rid of those rules. I think it's good we have them.
That's right.
So that's what I want to emphasize once again. We're not questioning the rules. We're questioning their non-enforcement towards some of the players on the market. I think that is the issue. I think we need to be very careful. I think you see, I think Marta can agree with that there's now more and more aggressive sales practices. Sometimes it's because of this lack of loyalty. You need to be much more aggressive in your communication. You need to find new ways how to actually capture the customers. So yes, it helps. It increases the competition. Mm-hmm. But you see that some companies are taking the shortcut. And this is, I think, what we need to focus on, that the shortcuts are not allowed.
Okay.
So I fully agree with what was said. Actually, the enforcement actually is the enforcement of DSA, or the DSA as such, is not, to my best knowledge, and actually I was part of negotiations. Is not meant as like enemy tool to any country or part of the world or any concrete company, but this is a way how to bring even more protection for the customers. That's one thing. Another thing is actually more transparency to the processes behind e-commerce and other services. And another step to single market. That's all actually. So I think we really need to take care about the good enforcement for the European customers, and Of course, it was touched here. DSA probably does not address all the areas. Some of them are maybe purely a question of consumer protection that probably could be addressed by Česká obchodní inspekce or this kind of institutions. And of course, there's big role of customs offices. That actually we had very good discussion. Thank you for actually facilitating that with customs, and they are getting ready for actually being more proactive against the third country players, and they are actually ready to actually accept some new rules, also maybe including the abolishing the 150 limit. So again, actually, from my side, it's a discussion about the enforcement, about the coordination of supervision, and if there are some areas where actually we see unfair competition that are not covered by DSA. Let's talk about legislative or non-legislative measures that can address them. Just saying that it's not all about DSA.
So back to legislation and to the rules we already have. All right. Do you want to comment, Petr and Marta?
Well, if the question is what do we do about unfair practices from China, whether it's through marketing or dealing with data and data protection, now may I bring up the word utopia again, in that hoping to curb Chinese or any other, it doesn't have to be China, it has to be anywhere else outside the EU. Now that until we have a world government, which we probably never will have, then there is no hope. So there is always going to be second best solutions. One of the second best solutions seems to be linking the, it's going to be around the corner when the decision about who owns the data ultimately is going to be decided, at least on the level of European Union or maybe civilized world or whatever you want to call the, outside of China world. Now, that is no failure to the current system that it hasn't been solved yet, because data as a tangible product itself is a new thing. 25 years ago, there were data, but they were not treated as an object of commerce. They were not treated as what economists called a good, a tradable good. So it's a new thing, and we have to invent a way how to deal with it, who owns it, etc. So that hopefully will be a partial solution to the problem in the future. So there I'm hopeful. The other solution seems to be that until we have that, and maybe even after we have this ultimate decision who owns the data and therefore who is in charge of it, is going to be, again, location-based. Where is the data stored? If it's stored in the European Union, then it's subject to what we want the good rules to apply, and therefore it can be the case that, if you want to do e-commerce here, then you have to store it in the EU. Ultimately, I can imagine if you want to import something from China, you have to show at least that you have bought it in the European compliant, maybe sub-website of a Chinese seller. And if you don't, there's going to be extra tariff. Right? We don't want to close down the competition altogether, but if you show, and you can easily show your receipt, because you have to go somewhere to get your customs declaration anyway, so you have to show, often it's very costly, which is, by the way, a great boost to the e-commerce, because now that you have to go and pick up your parcel somewhere and do the customs declaration, it's a huge detriment to ordering the small packages from China. And if there is a different tariff rate depending on whether you've ordered it from the Chinese website itself, which is not compliant, or whether you've bought it from a Chinese subsidiary in the EU, which is compliant, then there is a way. If you ask an economist for a solution to any problem, he's going to say, put a price on it. And that's a price on it. Right? Different tariff rate.
Do you think it can anytime work practically, or it can work with America?
it will work better than hoping that China will somehow be compliant with the European rules. That I consider to be utopic. Putting a price on what you like and getting a discount on what you like and putting an extra charge on something you don't like, well, that's just like what we have with emission trading system, right? We don't like polluters to emit CO2, so we put a price on it to deter them from it.
So the price is the safety, right?
Well, price is the solution to any problem that you perceive. If you don't like something, put a price on it. And as long as there still has to be a physical movement, and as long as there is some sort of customs border through which it has to go, you have the booth collecting the price, and therefore the price is applicable. Okay. Now, of course, economists like to go in the world without prices, without tariffs, but if you're asking, is there a solution to the bifocal system where you have European compliant and then the rest of the world uncompliant, then the second best solution is, okay, put a price on what you don't like.
Thank you very much. Marta, you want to comment?
Yes, definitely. I think, and I agree with what Tomáš said, that we have already, all the legislation is already in place. We have it about consumer protection. We have this, let's call omnibus regulation, which has been now in place, I think, over 2 years. So it's about this transparency of prices, that you know if the discount is really like a real one and not the fake discount that you can see on the platform. So sellers have to be transparent about the price, for example. But we have also this new regulation on the cooperation of CPCs, so this consumer protection authorities, and I think this is the main challenge and main hope, in my opinion, because if all those European regulators will be in constant dialogue and cooperation, they would have like the same digital system, so they could really transfer the information and get informed each other on, you know, what is going on on the local markets. I think it would be also a step forward to really make this enforcement going. And also what Petr said, maybe this kind of thing like geo-blocking, it would be of course an ultimate goal, an ultimate tool that can be taken, like this last resort, I would say, tool. But the threat of using this geo-blocking tool towards the players who are not responding and are not meeting legal requirements, I think this is something that is very tangible and practical. Maybe we should think about it now. I think this discussion has been going on for a while also within the CPC regulation debate. This kind of tool can be something that should be taken into consideration by all those players who are not meeting the requirements. And speaking about the regulation and new regulation, I just wanted to also stress the fact that this compliance to the regulation is very costful. This is something that is maybe not you're not aware of it, but we have done some research also with this Polish e-commerce organization. We have estimated that the cost of implementation resulting from changes in the law, including all these data protection regulations and Omnibus Directive and DSA for the Polish e-commerce sector is around 13 billion euros, this cost. At our platform for Allegro, we have only just for this DAC 7 legislation, which requires, which is like reporting obligation for us to the local Ministry of Finance. It took us 5,000 hours for the tech team just to make the platform compliant just to this one. So it means that those 5,000 hours that we devoted to developing solutions to be compliant, we could have spent maybe on some innovations and looking for some innovative solutions. So this is, I'm not saying that it's not worth being compliant, because being a good citizen is something very important also for our customers, who can see the reliable and fair partner. But on the other side, we need to take into consideration this cost. So it's not just the cost of people who work there, but also all those legal teams, compliance teams, public policy teams. So this is something that we really need to speak about loudly, because new regulations it's not the good direction, because we have all the regulations in place. It's just about how to use them wisely.
We have the last 10 minutes, and I would like to close with one topic which was somewhere here above, which includes disloyalty and also the attachment to the market, and also the protection, because the European population is growing older, and the technique and AI and everything is fast growing and changing, and most of customers, or not most, but a lot of customers are not educated at the moment, and they will not be educated in the future, including me, because I'll grow older and I will just...
we are boomers.
We are boomers. And we need to deal with it. And I would like to have a short comment from you, how to work with education of customers. As mentioned before, upskilling and reskilling of them, because what I believe myself is that education is the key. Once you know where your goods is coming from, then you pay more for something local, then you support your local provider, although and you are then loyal because you have the attachment. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely you are, but I think the solutions are already there. Maybe being tested, maybe not rolled out yet, but at first, you'll always learn, because we all already learned. But let me give you an example. You had Tomáš here earlier today, and Rohlík in the past was a great service in Prague. We all loved it. Then we were a bit jealous when he rolled it out to Brno. It's always a questionable when you do stuff in Brno. But now he's serving most of the country. And all of a sudden you see that it's changing, for example, the discussion on food retail available in villages and small towns. In the past, the political approach would be, well, we'll need to subsidize this last food store in this village. Right now, the response, even the political ones, okay, well, Rohlík delivers, or Košík delivers. So that's okay, we've taken care of it. We don't need the physical infrastructure. And then you see, for example, a local mayor who exactly has the same question. Well, but how do I teach my 80-year-old ladies to shop on Rohlík or Košík? Well, he does it, and then he picks up one of the teenagers who then goes to talk to these people. Say, well, okay, what would you like to have? This is what I can order for you. In some villages, they, for example, have now a village credit card that you used to pay, and then the mayor collects the money from each of the pensioners when they can come and pick up the delivery, for example. And that's today, but it's an interim solution. And I'm sure that one of many things Tomáš works on is already an AI, when you will actually talk to Rohlík and simply tell them, okay, well, I'd like to have this and this and this, and they will then basically build up your shopping basket out of a conversation.
You'll not recognize that you are not speaking to a living person.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I think there are many, now you have the technology to go around this barrier of the screen.
Good. Thank you.
So actually, again, speaking from the point of view of the state, definitely I think that it's in very good interest of all the e-commerce players, especially the big ones, to actually somehow invest into technology adoption measures, education, awareness raising among all the age groups. That's one point, but the second point is that, of course, the state should be, and I think is, active in actually changing the education and especially lifelong learning programs to actually help people to really grasp the digital skills. That's very important in all age groups. Of course, the more elderly and also boomer. My children usually, even I am responsible for technologies. My children usually are able to do anything on their tablets much faster than I do. So that's I leave it like this. And I think supporting lifelong learning programs also for elderly people, it's one of the roles where state definitely can play play its role in the area of digital competencies, technology adoption, because some people are scared, of course. Yeah? But of course, if as it was said, actually, the development of the new products, AI-based products, is designed in a way that for people that are not so much familiar with new technologies, it's always a good way, and it's also definitely there is a business interest in developing such a kind of applications and devices to be actually very easily accessible for people that do not have these digital skills. But as I say, from the side of state, we need probably to invest even more in lifelong learning and digital competencies.
Thank you very much.
The problem of aging population is, it faces every aspect, every sector in the European Union, but in other countries it's been relatively gradual. Still, the rate at which there is an increase in old age pensioners is faster than the rate at which they adopt the new technology. So it is, if the e-commerce sector is not going to pay attention to it, then they're basically going to be serving ever shrinking size of the market, but they are aware of it and they're doing something about it. Now, how do we scale it up? How do we make it more structural? Ultimately, the best way of teaching old people about new technology is by their own grandchildren or children. I remember, and maybe some of you will also remember, I was of the generation that had to teach my parents how to operate the video recorder, because it was a new technology for them. I was born, or I was growing up when it was around, and therefore it came as an automatic thing, and I taught my parents. I would have taught my grandparents if they actually had a video recorder. So that's the best way of teaching it, the young generation. Now, the problem is that we don't have enough of a connection between the, especially across over one generation, from the grandchildren to the grandparents. It's going to be a problem ever increasing because we don't have, at least here in Central Europe, enough of institutions. And then maybe there is a silver lining. It sounds horrible, I know, but given that we don't have enough institutions for old people, then they're going to be in a way forced to stay more at home, and maybe the grandchildren in the future will be called upon to take better care because there's not going to be the care homes. Then instead, maybe there is going to be connection, greater connection between the grandkids and their elderly grandparents. Now, that's not to say that to help e-commerce, we have to stop building old people's homes.
No
to
care
encourage
houses.
this. Right? But, okay, as a closing thing, I've already suggested one outrageous suggestion by cancelling or closing down the post offices. How about closing down Czech schools? There is an alternative system which is better. It's called International Baccalaureate. As part of your final grade as a secondary school before you go to university, you're not graded only on your geography, on your maths, and your chemistry. There is also a module which says something like social responsibility to the community. You're graded on it. You have to do some work towards it, just like you have to do some work towards your geography project. And that's a perfect solution in the villages. Instead of looking for something, cleaning up garbage along the motorway, you go to old people and teach them something. You get secondary school credit for it, therefore everybody has to do it, and that's something that the Western countries have already internalized, and therefore it is part of the International Baccalaureate. It is not part of the Czech curriculum. Now, okay, if we don't want to close down the state schools, make that part of the curriculum. Just like we don't teach people economics, and therefore they're surprised at how does inflation work, where do prices come from? Get rid of the old syllabi, teach them not just economics, about how the world of people works. We only teach them how the world of plants and animals and stars and atoms work. We don't teach them about how the system of people works. And this could be part of, ultimately, practical economics. Because once people understand how the world of people works through economics, they will understand, okay, we have a problem, old people, new technology, let's go and solve it. So that's a practical solution.
Thank you.
So many topics. I would like to refer to all of them, including the one with the social programs and granting some additional points at school, at high school. We have already in place in Poland, and we've been a proud partner of one of those social programs that was supporting but yes, but maybe this is for another conversation, but I would be happy also to contribute to this one. Speaking about the special needs or more inclusive approach, I think it's going to be nothing new that, of course, education is a key, and I think education, all the groups, youth and women and elderly people, you know, we have to like really take care of those more vulnerable groups. This was very we could see this need and this urgency, especially during the pandemic. So suddenly, especially the elderly people, they were like left alone, you know, staying at home, and with all this lockdown, they couldn't just go out to make groceries, and so it was a challenge. Really, we had to challenge, and this is what we were contributing with, was this extra line. Phone line, so everyone could just. This was aimed at senior people and elderly people, but of course everyone could just call us, and we were guiding him through how to, you know, navigate to this shopping process online. But I think the key is not just to have additional lines to support, but to make this service as simple to use as possible. And we are coming to this also accessibility thing that is not just for some groups of people. We just want, as a platform, of course there are some regulations in place, this European Accessibility Act, but it's not just about regulation, it's about consumers. So we want to have all the services accessible to everyone, like every consumer who has special needs. We want him or her to be sure that he can have this access to our products. So both the layout, everything like interface of the service is important. Also the big font, you know, it has to be adjusted to those needs. But also the process itself should be easy, clickable and intuitive, so I think, you know, everyone can understand this. Either the teenager or the elderly people, you know, can find it easy. And last but not least, it's all about also logistics. Like our parcel lockers are fully accessible, so everyone, so they're put in the way that also a person on the wheelchair or with a trolley or with everything, you know, it's accessible to everyone, because this is the point, how to get to this parcel locker. But you can also choose the height that you need, because maybe you're with this very short person or maybe very, very tall person, so you have your own needs. So everyone has needs, special needs, right? So we need to be sure that we can address those needs for everyone. So and for the education, I can say that there's a great space for the public and private companies just to cooperate on this one. I think this is also about the scale, how to get and how to get access to more people to take part in those trainings or webinars.
Okay. Thank you very much. It would be this topic for a whole conference. I am very glad that you were my panelist today. And thank you everyone, to Marta, to Petr and Tomáš.
Díky moc.
Děkuju. Děkuju moc krát. Děkuju. Děkuju moc krát. Thank you very much, Marta. And now, teď přehazuji.
So now I will switch.
So we stay with English, and I'll pass the floor and your attention to my colleague Michala, who is now going to lead you through what she's going to do.